Welcome to the Ethical Stitch, where fashion meets integrity and style gets a conscience. I'm your host, Michelle Alleyne, fashion strategist, educator, and sustainability geek. Let's unravel what it really means to create, shop, and live ethically.
So welcome back, family. This is the Ethical Stitch, and the Sustainability Study Hall is now in session. Lately, I've been taking inventory, not of my closet, but of my life. Standing in the kitchen the other morning, I caught myself looking around my home and really seeing it. The bottles, the wrap, the quiet mountain of plastics. Yep, believe it, that somehow built itself up over time, and was startled by it all. So I started asking questions I didn't want to answer. How did this all get there? What will become of it? And if I'm being honest, what does it say about my own buying power, my habits, my choices? Because for all the big talk we do about sustainability, it starts right here in those small, uncomfortable moments where you realize that change isn't just about systems or corporations, it's really about us. That self check led me straight to Vermont. I mean, at least in spirit, to the lake, Lake Champlain to be exact, where stillness has a way of humbling. And to the woman joining me today who's made it her life's work to turn reflection into action. Kate Williams is the CEO of 1% for the Planet, a global movement reminding us that we all have a responsibility to give back for what we take. Under her leadership, they've guided more than 800 million in giving toward real environmental solutions. Wow. Proving that when purpose and business meet, the world shifts. She's a leader, a mother, a trail runner, and someone who deeply understands that stewardship isn't an idea, it's a daily practice. Kate, welcome to the Ethical Stitch. I am so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful intro, and I am thrilled to be here too.
My goodness. You're such a force. But what I love most is that your leadership feels grounded. You live it. You're out there in the Vermont mountains, not just talking about connection, but practicing it. So tell me, what was the personal moment when you realized business could actually serve the planet and not just profit from it?
I think for me, in a lot of ways, it was like a slow dawning realization, not so much a moment. But I think, my path to doing this work really stemmed from a personal connection to nature, which you noted, but also from being in work at other organizations where I was really focused on partnerships. So I've always worked in nonprofits, but in the job I had before this one, I was the executive director of a regional nonprofit based here in Vermont. And the only way we could accomplish what we hoped to accomplish was by building really good partnerships with the business community. So for 10 years, I was working really directly with small businesses across northern New England and realized that so many of them had exactly the same goals that we did as a nonprofit. And so for me, that was kind of the slow building realization that businesses can and do and must play a real role in how we take care of the planet.
Tremendous. Oh gosh, I'm so loving that I'm hearing this from someone of your stature. You're a business person and you're just making music to my ears. So thank you again for being here. This is so exciting. So when you first stepped into 1% for the Planet, it already had that Patagonia legacy attached to it. It had that credibility. But what do you see that others didn't?
In terms of sort of Patagonia's role in
Yeah.
our sort of creating. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would say, the opportunity that Patagonia represents is that they, have been have and remain, a sort of standard bearer for bold action on the part of the business communities. Their leadership in that way has had a really enormous ripple effect. And they've, directly or through like Yvonne Chouinard's book, Let My People Go Surfing, have really inspired many of our businesses to join. And I think there's also, like, we've realized there's a few misconceptions that come with having, a huge brand like Patagonia associated with us. One is that our network now, which is more than 4,500 businesses, is not all in the outdoor industry. So we were born in the outdoor industry, but actually now we are across 60 different industries, and no more than 10% is in any one industry. So it's, while Patagonia is this great inspiration, it's important to know that they're an inspiration across industries, not just for the outdoor industry. So that's maybe what I would point out as well.
Yes, I feel like they are definitely our shining beam of light in this space, especially for fashion, right? So that's incredible. I'm so blown away. All right. So what did you feel needed to evolve to take this from something admired by outdoor enthusiasts to something the whole world could understand and even join?
Yeah, so when I started, a lot of our kind of brand and storytelling was still really, kind of aligned with the outdoor industry. So, like, simple examples are like we had a lot of imagery of like big snowy mountains, which are beautiful. I love them,
Mhm.
but like we kind of got serious and did a like heart to heart with ourselves around like who does that really speak to? Is that like accessible to everyone? I think the biggest thing that we needed to evolve and that we have evolved is really making sure that our communications, our imagery, our stories, the partnerships, from our member network that we feature tell the true story of the diversity of our network, which is that we're working in urban spaces, we're working, with, people as well as with the planet. So, if we do have a image of a big, beautiful natural place, we often want to also have some people in it because, we're all about that connection between people and nature.
That's fantastic. And for people that are just learning about this, let's kind of go back to the very beginning. How did 1% for the planet actually begin? I've heard it started with a fishing trip.
It started with a fishing trip. So yeah, the Patagonia founder, we're just speaking about Patagonia, Yvon Chouinard and his friend Craig Matthews, who's the founder of a small company in Montana called Blue Ribbon Flies. They were fishing, which they do a lot. And both of their companies, they were already doing some like giving back or focus on impact through allocating business resources to the nonprofit sector. And as they were on this one fishing trip, so the story goes, which as far as we can tell is quite accurate, they, talked about how it's great that we're doing this, but it doesn't really matter if one or two companies do something. And it doesn't really matter if there are all these little sort of isolated efforts out there. What we really need to do is create a movement that changes how we do business. Like, makes business as usual something different. And so 1% for the planet, and this was in 2002, was created to be that movement builder, to provide a model and a, simple but credible way that companies all over the world could take action as individual companies, but to aggregate it as a, to tally up to that bigger collective impact.
Fantastic. Friends getting together, huh? What
Great things happen.
Right? That's how great things happen. So, for listeners who may not know, can you walk us into the heartbeat of 1% for the planet? What's the soul of it?
Yeah, the soul of it is that businesses operate in the market. And in doing so, they create products, services. Many of those products and services can represent solutions, but they also create impacts as part of that. And they generate resources. So you sell your products, you sell your services, you generate income coming in. Noting that part of what you're doing is creating some impacts brings us over to the nonprofit sector, which is usually nonprofits are operating where there's not a market. They're mission focused. So they're focusing on the things that the market is not going to solve. Some of those things they're focusing on may be impacts caused by the market, but some of them are also just, things that need to be loved and cared for. Like, imagine a really obscure endangered species in a ecosystem far, far away. Probably not going to be a market for that, but when we think about the value of diverse ecosystems, we can still say, well, there's a mission to ensure that that ecosystem continues to have the diversity of those endangered species. So we have the market and businesses, we have the outside of the market and nonprofits. And, sort of the soul of 1% is to build the connection between those two, to take those resources or a portion of those resources generated in the market and to allocate them to solutions outside of the marketplace so that the whole ecosystem of businesses and nonprofits can be kind of working together to tap into the opportunities they have. Businesses get to create money in the market, nonprofits get to create impact outside of the market. Let's put those together and create a healthier planet for future generations.
The synergy. I mean, that's a lot of working together. Are the companies working together or is it separate enclaves? How does that
Yeah, that's a really important question because we talk a lot about collective impact. And so, like, understanding what that actually looks like. Some companies do connect with each other. The core partnerships in our network, though, are between the companies and the recipients of their donations. So, the partnerships, when we talk about partnerships, we're usually referring to those kind of impact partnerships where there's a flow of resources from the businesses to the nonprofits and the resulting solutions getting invested in on the part of the nonprofits. But again, we do that community of businesses. There are a lot of opportunities for them, for those brands to connect and collaborate. We have found that what's most powerful is for us to have a really clear framework and let businesses really optimize for what works best for them. And then to the extent that relationships build around that, we support that.
awesome? People hear 1% of sales and they think, that may be simple. But that idea, giving from sales and not profits, it was really radical at the time. Why do you think it still works today? And what's changed about the kinds of brands, creators, and individuals showing up right now for the movement?
Yeah, and it is a simple concept, but it's not easy. And I think that's like, the kind of thread to pull through. But the reason it's sales or revenues and not profits is that it's a really clear and rigorous number. Like if you sold 10 things and made $10 last year, there's no debate about that. Whereas if you sold 10 things and made $12, but then put one or maybe $1.50 back in, then the profit, which is that incremental 50 cents, could be up for debate. So sales is a really clear number. And it also really signals very clearly that whether you have a hard year or an easy year, you still have a commitment. You still have some revenue and you still have a commitment to the planet. So we've carried that through all the way because it has been such a clear certifiable number. And part of the important piece of our model is that we certify. So every year, every company in our network, every member is giving that 1% of sales to environmental partners.
Mhm.
We play a really important role in certifying that. And that part of the certification requires a documentation of revenue.
So they share their annual sales numbers with you all.
Yes, and we keep that confidential, of course, but when a company has that logo, it means that we have done that certification.
Got it. So at this point, you've helped guide over 800 million. Wow, I can't even say the number. 800 million in certified giving, which is so mind blowing. But I know you're not about the number, you're about the story behind it. Is there a moment or a company or even one individual whose journey into the movement surprised you?
Yeah, I love that question because we do love the number because it is a like way to capture the scale of our impact. But what we really love about the number is that it's made up of literally hundreds of thousands of donations over the years coming from all these individual companies. So I could talk for hours about the sort of surprise and delight, but I use one. So there's a brand called Sunski and they sell sunglasses. And when they joined, they're a great example of like, we love Yvonne Chenard, we love Patagonia, like let's join and really celebrate that. As they got into the community, and this ties to, your question around do brands connect with each other and what comes through the partnerships, they
Mhm.
got like positive peer pressure from their environmental partner, like, hey, you have a lot of plastic in your packaging. We love that you're supporting us, but do you think you could do something about that? And then, they met businesses, hey, love your brand. It's great that you're a 1% member, lots of plastic. And so fast forward a few years and they'd actually eliminated plastic from their packaging. And then they developed a new manufacturing process to create recycled frames. So
Love it.
like beyond, they did their simple certification every year. And again, that like simple sales, but then they also did so much more. And I think that's often a really cool feature of 1% for the Planet is that the community creates a context in which companies can learn and inspire each other. And also they learn so much from their nonprofit partners that enables everyone to level up.
That's fantastic. A lot of this is about education. I went to a talk this morning, and that was part of the topic, just really communicating what's being done, what might need to be done, how, we could just kind of sharing ideas, really, right?
Yeah, so important.
You know, our audience lives at the crossroads of creativity and responsibility. We have fashion designers, architects, artists, educators. When you look at that space, who's getting it right? Who's aligning their aesthetics with their ethics in a way that feels authentic and not performative?
Yeah. Oh, this is such a fun question. I love this one. So, because I have some brands that I really love and that are a big part of my life. So, one that I'll mention is Noah Clothing.
Okay.
They're based in New York. They're a super engaged member, so they're, the real deal. And their founder, Brandon Barbenzian, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, is just a well-known creative director. Their clothing is amazing. I have sort of a fun personal story from them because they're super cool clothing. So, I think sometimes like back in the day, there was a sense of like if it's sustainable clothing, it's going to be kind of drab and
Right.
not that nice. Noah absolutely gives the lie to that because their clothes are so cool, so hip. But we did an event there and they were kind enough to style me. So I got to wear some of their amazing jeans, which are my favorite jeans. And so I was walking outside in them just like right before this event started and this was in New York and right in the city and this never happens to me. I'm like in my 50s and this person came up behind me and they're like, "Your butt looks great in those jeans." And it wasn't like a, creepy thing. It was just a like, and I was like, I just put them on. Part of Noah Clothing and they look amazing. So, and I've gotten my daughter to get them. And
Wow.
so again, intersection of like hipness and sustainability, and they're like really engaged and just do a great job telling their story. And then another one, and I won't go on as long about this one, is the SAIE beauty brand. They have really, really great products and makeup. That's what I use almost exclusively. And they're doing really amazing work around both ingredients and plastic reduction. So they're an awesome brand. And again, like you wouldn't if you were just looking for like really amazing products, you'd be like, "Stay is great." If you're looking for amazing products that are also sustainably and ethically constructed and delivered, they're also an amazing brand.
I love that. They're hitting all sides. Wow. Noah Jeans, I don't know. I think you might have given them a marketing tactic with that's great.
I don't know if that's like an appropriate story to share, but it's like that has never happened to me in my life, and I fully credit them.
I love it. I'm like, okay, let me go check out Noah Jeans. And I'll check out Say Beauty as well.
Yeah,
But the Noah Jeans,
totally.
I might need a pair of those.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing. Now imagine this with me. If 1% for the Planet collaborated with a creative collective, let me start that over. Now imagine this with me. If 1% for the Planet collaborated with a creative collective or a fashion capsule, something rooted in intention, not trend, what would that look like?
Yeah, this is another fun one to think about. And the company that I would lean toward in this came, I didn't take me too long to arrive at them is Copenhagen Cartel. So they are a 1% member. Also, they're based in Copenhagen, as the name suggests.
My new
And
favorite.
I highly recommend checking them out because they have a really, talk about intentional. They are totally devoted to the ocean and kind of the way, like all the systems in the ocean. And so some of their clothing is actually like tied to that. So they have some of those like really warm, big capes that people wear after they do like cold water swimming, but they also have other, sweatshirts and like active wear. And all of it is informative. Like it has information about how their products are tied to reducing plastics, making the ocean healthier. So they're really amazing. Their products are solutions in and of themselves, and they're also educational. And they just have a incredible vibe and like beautiful products. And I have a few of their items. My husband has a few of their items. We really love them and just love it's like sustainability to the core, but again, like not at the expense of being like really amazing products.
Fantastic. Oh, I love your roster of all these companies. Mhm. Now, who's your dream collaborator? The one person or brand you'd call first?
Well, I mean, it certainly would be some of these like Noah Say and Copenhagen Cartel. One brand that I do really like as well, and that I again in this like fashion space is Faherty brand, Faherty. I think they've done a really interesting job of how they're sort of connecting sort of a lifestyle around sort of sustainable commitments. So it's beyond their products, but sort of that whole package. And again, I think like Copenhagen Cartel, I would point to them. They really do that as well. It's really a sort of ocean life. And I think that's important because then it's like serving that role of sort of building community around a brand, which I think is an important opportunity for the brands, and but then it also really builds the opportunity for sort of learning and education associated with that brand, so the consumers and the people who are loyal to that brand then have a ripple effective impact as well.
Wonderful insights here. Well, let's bring it home for the independents, the small studios, the one person brands listening who care deeply but might feel overwhelmed or under resourced. What are three real practical things they can start doing right now that actually move the needle towards a more sustainable business or life?
One thing I would say is like 1% for the planet, don't see it as necessarily out of reach. I know like hearing 1% of revenues can be like, oh my gosh, but we have ways that you can like deploy volunteer time and in-kind donations, but also like I think we see such a lift in terms of storytelling and being part of the community. So I would say like, don't rule it out. And so that would be one. The other, and this one I'll keep super simple is like just do something. And what I mean by that is it's so easy to get kind of like paralyzed, like, oh my gosh, I have to do the right thing. And there's all this information and I might get called out if I do the wrong thing. And I think that understandably make us sometimes feel like I'm just stuck. I don't know what to do. And I would say pick something that's meaningful for you. I think we stick with the things that we like care about. And if you feel some love or some like energy around it, like, do it. And that might be in your personal life. It might be part of your business, but like do something, because my belief and experience is that if you do something, you're acting, you're moving. And when you move, you get new perspectives and you meet new people. Whereas if you stay still and just try and analyze everything, you don't get new perspectives. So
I love that.
do something, take action, get yourself into positions where you'll start to learn more. And then lo and behold, a year will go by and you'll realize, oh, I've done so much more than I thought I would. I just took that little step. So I think those would be the two main things that I would offer.
Okay, that was great. How do you stay inspired when the weight of the work feels bigger than the progress being made?
I feel like 1% for the planet is kind of a hope factory, like in a very real, tangible way. So every single year we have businesses who are committing and implementing 1% of revenue. So, last year we certified more than 100 million US dollars. That makes me feel pretty hopeful because that's like real engagement, real action, and real community commitment. So I feel inspired on a daily basis because even when I, read a news story or something that is depressing, which is kind of unavoidable,
Please say.
I look the other way and I see what our community is doing, and I'm like, that's what I'm going to focus on is this community that's like saying all this is going on. Sometimes it can feel hard to believe that we're making progress, but we're going to keep doing it because the only way that we start making progress is by continuing to do the work.
Keep it moving. Keep it. So, what's next for 1% for the planet? What's lighting you up and remaining part of your 2026? Any new ideas, collaborations, areas of impact you're thinking about or you're excited about?
Yeah, we have lots that we're excited about. So just in the short term, like as we kind of head into the home stretch for 2025, we have a challenge grant where we're trying to get to $1 million US dollars raised supporting our work. For your, individual people out there who are looking for simple action, like every little small donation makes a huge difference for us. So check us out on our website, and also Giving Tuesday is coming up. And, I would say 1% for the planet is certainly, we have our fundraising goals, but like it's a really important time of year to think about nonprofits. So I would just encourage that. We are
Definitely.
on track to hit our first billion in lifetime giving. So we mentioned that we're over 800 million right now in lifetime, and we're on track to get there in the next 18 to 24 months. So we're supercharged about that. And then from there, we want to get to the next billion even faster because that's all like real impact on the ground.
Totally.
Our 25th anniversary is in 2027, so we're excited to celebrate that. And then again, back to kind of shorter term, like Earth Month in April will be here really soon, and so starting to think about like, you know, how do you want to show up? We want to show up big. We always create ways to engage our community, so we'll be doing that again as well.
Okay. That's amazing. Wow. I'm so excited. I'm going to really be following you and
Awesome.
checking it out
Thank
and
you.
seeing what's happening. Well, Kate, before we wrap the study hall today, what we do here is we end every session by giving flowers where they're due. It's called our Stitch Mob MVP of the week. Now, you named some wonderful brands, so maybe you've already hit your quota, but we'll take more. So if there are any, maybe one person, a brand, or an organization out there that's quietly doing it right. They're proving that sustainability isn't just a buzzword, it's a lifestyle. Who would you like to shout out this week?
Well, I would certainly shout out all the brands that I did. Maybe this week, we just wrapped up on Monday night, we wrapped up our online auction, which is where we get a lot of awesome donations of products from our members. And it did well this year, lots of good energy. And this company's not in the fashion space, but they were the sponsor of the auction and were really just such an incredible support. So it's Flickr.
Flickr.
Flickr. They're a like photo storage and sharing
Yes, I'm
site, and
familiar.
they're yeah, you've probably heard of them. They've been around for a while, and so they just like are this amazing, steady, quiet but effective. Like share the news, don't toot their own horn. Like really just try to do the right thing. And they've only been a member for a couple years, but they're just super engaged and supported. Supportive. So big shout out to Flickr.
Shout out Flickr. All right. Good to know they're still around doing their thing. They are quiet. I'm not a photographer by any means, but I am familiar with I think their platform though.
Yeah.
Wonderful to hear that they're doing great things. I love that. And it definitely doesn't have to be about fashion. It's all encompassing, right? This space of circularity, sustainability, whatever we want to call it, caring, right? Consideration, maybe. It's open. So thank you for sharing. All right. Now, every time I sit down with a leader, especially one like you, Kate, I am reminded that this movement isn't abstract, it's personal. Organizations like 1% for the Planet are that we can turn good intentions into tangible impact, that giving back is not a luxury, it's a responsibility. So every step forward, every purchase made with purpose becomes a footprint for change. So here's your homework. Stitch Mob. Please support businesses that are a part of this movement. Visit 1%org. It's spelled the way it sounds. Explore their members and back the brands that dare to be green, not greenwashed, because that's how we keep this ripple going. And at the end of the day, this is not just about saving the planet from ourselves. It's about remembering we are a part of the planet. So until next time, everyone, stay conscious, stay creative, and always stay stitched in. Kate, a huge thanks. I am so pleased to have chatted with you here today, and I'd love to keep the communication open, and I'm looking so forward to seeing what you all do next.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to get to join with you in this conversation.
Fantastic. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into The Ethical Stitch. If you loved this episode, share it, rate it, and tag me at Michelle Alleyne Official. The revolution in fashion starts with awareness, and you're already a part of it. Until next time, keep it ethical.